Takumi is a boring, average loser who isn't worth anything in his class, but for some reason, every girl around him is head over heels for him, and they all fight to see who can get this loser's attention the most. A girl annoyingly tries to wake Takumi up, and later, she hurriedly leaves the house, announcing that she's heading out first and isn't going to wait for him. Takumi yawningly walks down the stairs, inwardly explaining that the girl, Surizawa Fumino, is a liar who always says the opposite of what she actually feels. He expectantly dresses up and walks out of his house to see that Fumino is indeed waiting for him. As they start walking, she insists that she barely avoided an oncoming truck and ended up coming the wrong way, so she just returned instead. A boy confronts Fumino and starts saying creepy stuff to her, so she punches him in the face. Takumi remarks that this is Kikuchi Iyasu, who's also on very bad terms with Fumino. Another bad friend, Kuya Daiguru, approaches them and they head to school together. On the way, Kikuchi starts teasing Fumino again, but when she angrily punches a pole near them, he hurriedly changes the topic and wonders which island Takumi's sister, Suzuki Otome, has gone to this time. Takumi inwardly explains that Otome will run off to an island, sea, or even out to space whenever she finds someone in need, and Kikuchi refers to her as his master because she saved him in a very flashy manner when he was about to get beaten up by some delinquents, but he felt pretty manly after that. Fumino notices something in a garbage can and suddenly pauses, so Takumi reminds her that they're going to be late, and she annoyingly says she knows. Later, Takumi explains that Yumenomori Private School is split into middle and high school divisions. He and Fumino are a part of the high school division. Thanks to the superintendent of the academy, Yumenomori Kusaburo. The girl suddenly barges in and Takumi remarks that this is Chai's, the superintendent's granddaughter, a princess who treats the school as if it's her very own private playground. The students wonder why she's wearing a swimsuit, so her maids start dressing her up as she orders Takumi to go cosplay as Grand Braver. She says Fumino can play Sayaka and orders them to come by her house after school so that they can make their dresses. However, Fumino throws the magazine in her face and questions if she really thinks being the superintendent's granddaughter gives her the right to control the entire student body. She declares that someone like Cheese is an embarrassment to all of humanity, and that she definitely won't obey a rich little brat like the rest of the boys. Later after school, as Cheese is heading home, she asks a maid, Satu and Suzuki, if she has an infant-like figure, so they confirm that she does and praise her appearance. Cheese agrees and wonders what they'll do about Fumino since they can get Takumi to be Kaiser. As Fumino is rushing home, a boy desperately asks her to help him, so she asks if a man is following him and hides behind a wall with him as his shadows slowly lose closer towards them. Meanwhile, Takumi and Kuya start making a cake, and he mutters that both Fumino and Kikuchi have already left. On the street, Kikuchi rushes forward, but Fumino kicks him away. They return to the school where a boy tells Takumi that a huge cat took his cake and says she was as big as Fumino. Kikuchi says that's obviously a lie since no cat is that big, but he insists that a large cat took the bag. She shows a girl into her house and takes some clothes out of her closet for her. Fumino asks Kikuchi why he doesn't believe the kid, so he reminds her that this kid was a huge liar in kindergarten. However, she angrily orders them all to shut up and declares that they're going to go find this cat, so Kikuchi makes a bet with her. Later, as Takumi is making the cake, Kikuchi tells Takumi he can't believe he stayed with a 3D girl like Fumino for so long, so he says she does have some good points and sees that there aren't any eggs left. Meanwhile, Cheese is stunned to see that the girl she brought home has suddenly left. As Kikuchi is annoyingly going to buy eggs, he suddenly sees the shadow of a huge cat in front of him. As Fumino is trying to find the cat, the boy suggests that they should just head back, but she reminds him that the boys will think he took the cake if they don't find the cat. As Cheese is peeking at Takumi making the cake, her maids discuss that Cheese actually wants to become friends with Takumi and Fumino, but she can't do so unless a good opportunity presents itself. Kuya and Takumi sit down to drink some tea as he remarks that this is their confectionery store, Stray Cats. The owner and chief baker is his sister, Otome, but the cakes aren't very good since his sister doesn't know much cooking, and the only employees are he and one other part-timer, but they're still regular high school students. He mutters that Kikuchi sure is taking his time with the eggs, hearing which Cheese suddenly barges in. Her maids reveal that she was waiting for a chance to come out and offer them help. Cheese hurriedly shuts them up and says it seems that they have no other choice. Her maids quickly take out a chicken and make it lay an egg, but a chick comes out of it, so Takumi just decides to go buy some eggs instead of relying on this tomfoolery. As Fumino is lying on the bus stand, she suddenly notices a girl leaving the bus and rushes after her. Cheese goes after Takumi and reveals that the cat she found earlier ran away and his sister likes to pick up stray acts, so she came to him. Takumi apologizes for what Fumino said to her earlier and tells her to not mind since she'll forget it by tomorrow. They suddenly hear a commotion as Fumino rushes past them and chases after a cat. Chise chases after the cat as well and tells Takumi that she needs her to cosplay as Sayaka in Fumino's stead. Kikuchi rushes after the cat as well while Takumi sees Kuya standing with a boy who's crying. They learn that he really was lying and he reveals that he ate the cake because he was hungry, but he adds that a big cat really did show up. Meanwhile, the cat escapes from the others, so Chise tells Fumino they should just give up at this point since she's ordered Satu and Suzuki to look for her as well, but Fumino climbs up a pole and bets they all have no idea of how children feel when no one believes them, hearing which the kid shamefully runs away. Realizing he was lying, Fumino slowly comes back down and remembers what Takumi said to her when they were young. After that, they finish the cake and send it to their customer, Minami Kogane, at dawn the day after it was supposed to be sent. Later, as Takumi is about to go home and sleep, the boy from before hurries up to Fumino, gives her a bag and embarrassingly runs away. His father bows to apologize and they both leave, so Fumino slowly opens the shopping bag. Fumino sees an apology note from the boy as well as a cake and blushingly turns away when Takumi teases her. Otome suddenly returns home and tells Takumi she has a souvenir for him. He expects it to just be a stray cat burr. She declares that it's no ordinary cat and reveals that it's the one Fumino had been looking for. Takumi wakes up, makes some cakes and leaves for school. On the way, he runs into Fumino, who annoyingly says she just stepped on some gum and was trying to take it off. Takumi notices that she seems to want to say something and asks what they should do with the girl Otome brought, but Kikuchi and Kuya both catch up to them and start talking to Takumi. In class, Fumino asks Takumi what he was saying earlier since she'll feel bad if she doesn't know the full story, so he's about to explain, but a sudden gust of wind blows up her skirt. Takumi tells Kikuchi and Fumino that the name of the girl Otome brought with her yesterday is Kiria Nozomi, so she asks if she's an orphan, but he admits he doesn't know. They head to the confectionery store after school and see that Otome hasn't opened it since they closed it yesterday. Takumi decides to make some tea and opens a room to meet Nozomi, but he, Kikuchi, and Kuya are stunned to see that she isn't wearing anything. Fumino hurriedly rushes towards them and orders them to not look. Later, Otome arrives to see the boys looking beaten up. They all sit down and Nozomi says she isn't really embarrassed by the fact that she was naked, so Fumino declares that she still shouldn't walk around naked since Tihiwa are embarrassed for her. Kikuchi asks Nozomi some stuff, but she doesn't answer and keeps staring at him, so he wonders if she's trying to flirt with him and warns her that he's into old girls. However, Kuya says he should just stop, and Otome acknowledges that some people have boundaries they don't want crossed. Nozomi flatly says she'll leave if she's a bother, but Fumino grabs her hand and says wandering around this late is troublesome. Man, this Sunja is getting on my nerves. Otome warmly convinces her to stay and tells the others that everyone has secrets they don't want to reveal to people they just met. Takumi wakes up the of dawn to see that Kikuchi and Taiyu are waiting for him in front of the house, so he quickly hurries down, making sure to avoid Nozomi. Fumino arrives as well, insisting that she just got worried when she saw a stranger near the store. They prepare to start making cakes, and Kikuchi sees that Fumino has changed from her usual Sunder self before Otome and Nozomi arrive as well. Nozomi says she wants to try too and asks Takumi what she should do, so he says they can make meringues together, and she agrees. Takumi is surprised by how well she's doing and decides to go do something else while she whips the meringue. Once they're done making the sponge cake, Otome prepares to frost the cake, so Takumi worryingly asks if she'll be alright, but she says she'll be fine. As she starts frosting, she quickly messes up and tells Nozomi to try instead since the spirit is what matters. Everyone is stunned by how good she is, and Otome happily says she might be their shop's savior. Otome says they'll make Nozomi their patissier, and Takumi is relieved to see Nozomi smile. Later, the teacher introduces a new student and everyone is stunned to see that it's Nozomi. She braggingly enters the class and tells Nozomi that she's her underling now since she was the one who approved her transfer. Nozomi agrees and pats Chise, after which she collapses from the pleasure. Seeing this, the other students question if she's the wielder of the god hand and happily cheer for her. See guys, school isn't so bad. During lunch, Takumi tells Kuya and Kikuchi that Nozomi fixed their broken TV and has been perfecting different kinds of cakes. He admits he doesn't know how to approach her, so Kikuchi starts teasing him. When Takumi blushes, Fumino angrily breaks her chopsticks, so he just mutters that he's not looking forward to it. Later, Chise calls for Takumi and the others and says she's decided to make a group with them. Kuya asks what the purpose of that group is, so she mutters that she hasn't decided yet, and that's what they're going to plan today. He orders them to think up some ideas, but they all leave, and Takumi says they have to go help out with the store. By the time they reach the store, they're all drenched by the rain, and Takumi sees a note from Otome, stating that she's gone to Northern Europe since some trouble is brewing there. Fumino angrily asks if Nozomi and Takumi are going to live together until then, and he inwardly admits that's true. Seeing the heavy rain outside, Takumi decides to close the store for the day and he goes with Fumino to drop her off at her house. Takumi returns to his house and sees that Nozomi has cleaned up, so they sit down to eat. They go to sleep, but Takumi is woken up in the middle of the night by a phone call. He sees that it's from Fumino, who annoyingly tells him to open the door to the store, and he's surprised to see that she's here. Takumi isn't able to fall asleep and goes to the living room where he sees that Nozomi is watching the weather broadcast. Meanwhile, Fumino annoyingly gets up and changes out of her night suit. As they're watching the news, Nozomi asks Takumi if he and Fumino get together well, so he admits they've been inseparable for a long time. He tells her that Fumino's secret is that if she's saying something serious, it's a complete lie, but it's also a bit hard to know, although he can tell since he's been friends with her a long time. Nozomi says it's nice to know someone like that and reveals that she's never had any friends and doesn't know anything about where she's from or who her parents are. She admits living alone is hard and this is a wonderful place, so Takumi is about to say something, but he suddenly hears the phone ringing. He's surprised to hear that it's Fumino and opens the door to see her outside, so she mutters that she forgot something. She picks up a hairpin and says she came back to get it because it's important, so Takumi offers to lend her Otome's clothes since she's soaked. She says it's fine, but he mutters that she'll catch a cold quickly, so she agrees. Fumino goes to take a bath and Takumi sits down to watch the news, but the power suddenly goes out. Fumino rushes out of the bathroom and tells Takumi to quickly check the breaker, but he hurriedly tells her to hurry back inside. Realizing she's naked, she angrily throws something on his face and he collapses because he's already attained a forbidden power and doesn't need anything else in his life. Later, Takumi tells Fumino to stay here tonight, so she's about to decline but says she'll just stay here until the power's out. Takumi gets the radio and learns that there's no news of power coming back until the typhoon has completely died down. He decides to turn the radio and the flashlight off since they need to conserve the energy. Takumi decides to tell a ghost story, but Fumino punches him away and angrily asks what he's hoping to achieve by making the situation even scarier than it is. They just sit for a while before Fumino falls asleep. Takumi asks if he should take out a futon for her, but she declines and says she'll stay here, so he heads to his room. However, Fumino stops him and sets up 3 futons in the living room for them to sleep together. As they lie down, Fumino worryingly asks what happens if a house gets struck by wine, so Nozomi says the electricity runs through the walls and into the ground, but the house can also catch on fire sometimes. Both Fumino and Nozomi grab Takumi's hand, so he slowly falls asleep as well. The next morning, Takumi hurriedly wakes Fumino up and tells her that Nozomi ran off somewhere and all her stuff is gone. They quickly get dressed and rush outside while a note from Nozomi is lying in the living room in which she states that she will definitely return the clothes someday. The others rush to find her as well, and Takumi tells Fumino that Nozomi opened up to him last night. As they continue looking for her, Fumino realizes it's her fault that she left. A while later, Takumi insists that they should continue looking for Nozomi, but he suddenly receives a call from Kikuchi, informing him that someone who looks like Nozomi was spotted somewhere near them. When Fumino doesn't want to go with him, Takumi annoyingly declares that this isn't the time to be spouting nonsense, but she mutters that Nozomi might run off again if she goes with him. She tearfully admits Nozomi left because of her and reveals that she told her she wanted her out. However, Takumi says that's not it and questions why she would leave because of her, so Fumino declares that Nozomi realized she loves him. However, Takumi suddenly receives a message stating that the others have found Nozomi and rushes to the location. As Nozomi is sitting alone, she notices a stray cat and remarks that Takumi's house really was an amazingly nice place. Takumi arrives to take her back, but Nozomi mutters that she can't go back since she'll be a bother. Takumi reveals that he was abandoned too and lived in an orphanage until he was 6, but it fell apart when it went bankrupt, so he was the first person who got adopted by Otome and Nozomi was the second one. He adds that he didn't even have a name and he was abandoned with a sheet of tatami, so they named him that, but it sounded too weird, so his name was changed to Takumi. Yeah, it would have been kinda weird if bro was named after a mat. Fumino slowly reveals that she was an orphan as well. Takumi says he and Fumino were the only ones left when the orphanage closed down, and even though they were children, they knew their existence was nothing but trouble. After that, he left and wanted to go off and live somewhere on his own, but Otome took him, and even though she knew how he was, she took him to her house instead of the orphanage. Otome fed him a lot of cake and took him back to the orphanage to officially adopt him. He warns Nozomi that he'll forcefully drag her back if she doesn't go with him, and Fumino adds that Otome will think they drove her out when she gets back. Nozomi realizes she'll be a nuisance no matter what she does. Takumi says he knows how she feels, but she can cause as much trouble as she likes and are going to do that too, so she should come back home with them, because even though they're incompetent, they're family. The others arrive to see that Nozomi is here, and Chitose tells her to not leave, she's her underling now. She orders Nozomi to come to her house or the school's penthouse next time she runs away, so she agrees. As Fumino and Cheese are sitting in a hot bath, Cheese reminds her that this place is a super luxurious hot spring that only high-ranked VIPs can use, so she should be grateful that a commoner like her is allowed here. As the boys are on the other side, Kikuchi tries to eavesdrop on the girls and mutters that it seems that the action has started. Kuya and Takumi tell him to stop peeking, but he declares that not peeking in this situation would be an insult to girls, so this is their duty. Kuya tells him that the girls' bath is on the other side, but Kikuchi accidentally steps on the wrong rock and their entire bath explodes. As he's flying, Takumi explains that this all started when Cheese called them to her. While they were in the penthouse, Kikuchi said that even though Cheese was a rich princess, she's not ladylike and has a foul mouth, so he can't see her as a princess at all. Hearing this, Cheese shoved them all into a helicopter, and they were taken to the luxurious Hot Springs Inn on top of a mountain. Presently, they fall in a forest and Kuya says they should get back to the inn unless they want to catch a cold. As Takumi and his friends are walking through the forest, someone watches them through binoculars and then peeks at the girls changing. Cheese tells Fumino that she's been thinking hard about what they can do to make their club famous and says they need to make websites to attract an audience. In the forest, Takumi gets separated from Kikuchi and Kuya, so they decide to head back to the inn and form a search party for him. Alone, Takumi realizes he'll be dead soon at this rate. As the girls are eating, Fumino says she can't see anyone but the employees around them, so Cheese reveals that this place is not just for VIP use, it's also reservation only. She learns that the daughter of the Chikumain family, Chikumain Kaho, is here as well. While in the forest, someone finds an unconscious Takumi. The girls come across a ping pong table, so Fumino and Chai engage in an epic showdown in which Fumino finally loses. Takumi wakes up to see that he's sleeping on someone's lap and hurriedly gets up, but the girl politely introduces herself as Chikumain Kaho and says she brought him here because she saw him lying unconscious at the bottom of the cliff, so it's fortunate that the fallen leaves acted for him. Takumi nervously thanks her for helping him before Kaho mutters that even in front of a fire, she still feels cold in her wet clothes. Takumi suggests that she can dry those too, but he suddenly catches himself and stops. However, she agrees and takes off her clothes. They note that it's still cold and Takumi worryingly wonders what he should do. In the forest, Kikuchi and Taiyu cook some fish since they've lost their way. Kuya and Kaho simultaneously tell Kikuchi and Takumi that the only thing they can do in these times is warm each other with their bare skin. Kikuchi watches in shock as Kuya slowly embraces him and declares that he'll protect him. Things are getting real freaky around here. Meanwhile, Takumi hurriedly declines, so Kaho says they could just use their backs. As they're silently sitting, Kaho asks about his friend, so he reveals that he has a childhood friend who's a wolf girl. Meanwhile, the girls slowly climb up a mountain, so Fumino annoyingly asks why they have to do this just to go from one hot spring to another. Chai almost falls down, but she's saved by her rogue's belt and one of her maid informs her something. The girls finally reach the top of the mountain and enter the hot spring, but they realize they haven't seen Takumi and the other boys. Kaho puts on her clothes and sees that the rain has stopped. Takumi wonders where he should go to get to the resort, so she grabs his hand and starts leading him along while Kuya does the same for Kikuchi. All three boys reach the girls' hot spring at the same time, and Takumi hurriedly tries to explain, but Kaho has mysteriously disappeared, so Fumino angrily punches them all away. As they're all heading back home, Takumi tells Cheese he met Kaho in the mountain, but she suddenly disappeared, but Cheese says she's fine since the mountains belong to the Chikumain family, and they're practically a park to her. Takumi wonders why she did dead in the cabin with him if her guards were there to protect her, hearing which Fumino angrily starts beating him up. She thinks about how her maid informed her that her parents won't be able to make it to the resort, and she announces that once they get back, they're going to decide what their club is going to do. They start arguing while Cheese watches their plane leave with a small army of guards behind her. As the group is serving customers at the store, Kikuchi and Kuya see that the business is doing pretty well, so Takumi believes it's probably because of Nozomi since their guests are slowly increasing thanks to word of mouth. Kuya believes he's forgetting something, but he isn't able to put his finger on what it is. Meanwhile, Cheese angrily screams that they're late for the club's meeting. The next day, Cheese asks everyone why they didn't come to the meeting, admitting that she hadn't actually announced it to them. Takumi says that's unreasonable. Kuya apologizes and Fumino says she wouldn't have come even if she knew. Choi suggests some days on which they can meet up, but they keep saying they're busy, so she questions if they actually have any intention of joining this club. She frustratingly just decides to proceed with today's meeting and asks if they've thought of a good name. Fumino asks if she has thought of a name, so she decides to move on. She proposes that they name it the Otaka Club, since the younger generation is all about anime, manga, and games. None of them are skilled at any of those things, so Fumino decides to just leave and takes Takumi, with her and the others slowly leave as well. Chai sadly beats up her doll and embraces it, remembering what her maid said about her parents not coming to the resort. As she's slowly leaving the school, Kaho unexpectedly gets out of a car and greets her. As they're in the car, Kaho says she's heard Takumi's store lacks proper management and funds, which must be painful for him since he has to waste his one and only high school life helping out in his store. Chai mutters that that's why she made this club, so that everyone could enjoy themselves, but it's not working out well because they all say they're busy. Kaho says they're all busy because of the store's deficit in funds and smilingly mutters that the solution is simple in this case. On Sunday, Takumi sees that they aren't getting any customers today, so Nozomi sadly says it might be because her cooking is getting worse, but he hurriedly says the whole town might have gone on a trip. Kikuchi and Kuya hurriedly enter the store and exclaim that it's horrible. Takumi is shocked to see that Cheese has opened her own Western confectionery store right in front of their stray cats, so he questions why she would do that. Cheese braggingly reveals that they hired a world-renowned patissier through a contest, and the exterior and interior were done by a famous designer, so no matter how one looks at it, her store is clearly better than his. Kikuchi angrily says Stray Cats is going to die if she does this, so she says she'll hire them if it closes and give them much better pay and benefits because of course you can bribe your friends with money. Shigen agrees to throw in some extra benefits on top of that, but Takumi refuses and they all head back to their store. Later, Takumi worryingly wonders what he should do, so Fumino tries to cheer them up, but he remarks that good spirits aren't going to change their store's situation. Their store's income keeps going down to the point where they can't afford to let it go any lower. A man enters the store and asks if Otome is here, explaining that he's from the Young Men's Club and they thought it'd be nice if she participated in the upcoming Swimsuit Festival. Hearing this, Kikuchi and Kuya suddenly get an idea. Shiz remembers the first day of school when all the students were gossiping about her. She accidentally tripped and tearfully was about to get up when Takumi offered her a hand and helped her get up before leaving with Fumino and Kikuchi. Presently, Kaho assures Chais that it's just going to take Takumi and the others a little more time to come around. Meanwhile, Otome returns to the school and learns about the situation. Kikuchi and Kuya ask if she can enter the swimsuit competitions since that'll help make the store more popular and believe it'll definitely have a big impact. She cheerily agrees and declares that she will help out for the store's sake. She unveils her swimsuit, but they realize she won't be able to participate since they can't find a swimsuit that fits her size, so Takumi asks Nozomi if it's possible for her to enter the competition for the store since Fumino won't agree. Fumino annoyingly asks why he's automatically leaving her out and agrees to enter as well. Cheese learns about what the girls are planning and says there's only one way to beat them. Hearing this, Kaho automatically assumes that she's going to enter as well and swears that she's going to find a swimsuit of her size. The festival begins and Otome hands out flyers of their store. Meanwhile, in the changing room, Fumino, who's dressed in her swimsuit, asks Shiz why she's here, so she says she's going to win this competition as a representative of her store. Fumino asks Shiz if she's gone mad and questions why she's so determined to crush their store, so Cheese declares that THEY are the ones who don't understand her situation. She bursts out that she just wants to hang out with them and wants the stray cats to disappear so that they can all have more free time, and reveals that even Kaho agreed with their plan. Takumi and the others overhear everything before Cheese angrily runs out of the room. Takumi confronts Kaho and asks her to stop Chais from making bad decisions. He insists that the store is their home and there are lots of memories living in that house, so Cheese and Kaho are also welcome there at any time. Shocked, Takumi realizes why Cheese prepared that club for them and asks Kaho to stop her from making the wrong choices. However, Kaho asks if he thinks he understands Cheese better than her, someone who stands in the same social ladder as her, so Takumi confirms that he does because he and Cheese are friends. Kaho understands and agrees to not help Cheese from now, but she adds that it was never her intention to bully them, so Takumi smiles and watches her leave. Hearing all this, she starts crying, so Kuya and Kikuchi offer her a handkerchief and swear that they didn't hear anything. Chais returns to the changing room and hurriedly looks for her swimsuit so that she can represent Stray Cats in the swimsuit competition, and later, Nozomi, Cheese, and Fumino pose for Stray Cats in the competition, and Stray Cats' popularity quadruples. Later, Cheese announces that their group's name is going to be the Stray Cats Appreciation Society. Cheese announces that the Stray Cats Appreciation Society is going to firstly organize a gourmet tour all over Kanto every weekend, and they'll hold ping-pong tournaments at completely reserved resorts. As she details all her extravagant plans, she notices that everyone's faces seem to be glum and asks what's happened. Fumino says actually executing that plan is impossible, and the others explain why they won't be able to go on these trips, so she asks what kind of activities they want to participate in. As they're brainstorming, Otome suggests that they can go out and ask for some opinions if they can't figure it out themselves. Cheese agrees, so they put up a small board in the school stating that they're accepting suggestions for their worldwide activities and asking people to drop their suggestions into a box at the entrance. However, they only get one suggestion from an anonymous second-year student who asks what the Stray Cats Appreciation Society is. Since no one knows them, Nozomi suggests that they can inform everyone, and Cheese agrees, so Kuya suggests that they could put up a poster on the bulletin board. When Kikuchi asks about the size, she assumes that he's making fun of her and smashes him into the table, but he annoyingly says he was talking about the poster. The others give some suggestions, but Kikuchi tells them to think bigger and says they're going to upload a video to a site. Cheese agrees that their first activity is going to be the production of a promotional video, but they have to finish it before summer vacation. Later, Cheese heads to the store and says she can hire some very famous directors, but Fumino says there's no point if they don't do it themselves. Chais questions if she thinks there's someone here who has the sense to make that level of video, and they all simultaneously look at Kikuchi. However, Cheese tells Nozomi to do it. Kikuchi tells her to not underestimate him and asks who she thinks has the most filming knowledge here. They agree to let him be the director, so he says Takumi will be the assistant director, Kuya will do the filming, logs will be taken care of by Nozomi, and Fumino and Cheese will deal with the music, so he orders them to come up with a score by tomorrow. Fumino and Cheese manage to get the music ready by the next day, but Takumi enters the penthouse to see them both arguing. Kikuchi says they just have different musical opinions and announces that they're just going to start filming from tomorrow and deal with the music later until both of them have decided. They begin filming, and Cheese brags that the tower they're going to shoot in front of is just a tiny bit shorter than the one in Dubai. However, Kikuchi orders her to have it removed, so she has to have it destroyed in the opening scene of their video. Next, they head to the world's largest river basin, where Kikuchi says he wants an autumn shot of the girls playing in the water. Takumi asks why they needed to come all the way here just for that, but he orders him to not question his decisions. They film another scene in the forest, after which the maids drag Kikuchi back to the plane. Since Kikuchi is too nervous on the plane, Takumi says they won't be able to sleep like this, but Cheese reveals that she planned it out and had a satellite installed so that Kikuchi could watch anime on the plane. At the end, they aren't able to get any sleep after all and wearily head to school. Once they're done, they sleepily fly to the pyramid and run into Otone, who came here to help and tells them to take care of their bodies. Kikuchi orders Chais to make it snow here, and they shoot her another similar-looking scene. Later, they head to another location, and Takumi wearily mutters that he's only been able to sleep at school. In the barren land, they plant flowers and shoot another similar scene before heading back to Japan. As Takumi is walking to school with Fumino and Nozomi, he reveals that he's only been getting 30 minutes of sleep a day and starts talking to himself. They take him to the infirmary, but Kikuchi believes he'll be fine since they've only got one more day of shooting left. They all head to the world's tallest mountain in Nepal, where Fumino, Nozomi, Cheese, and Takumi go to the peak. Once they're done shooting, Kikuchi tells them to wait while he sends a helicopter to pick them up, but he learns that it'll be too dangerous because of a snowstorm, so they have to wait for the wind to die down. As Takumi and the others are sitting in a tent with limited oxygen supply, he decides to unwrap the parcel Kuya gave him and sees that it's a book about how not to get stranded on a mountain. Takumi wearily collapses while Kuya hopes the book he gave him comes in handy. Fumino wakes Takumi up by slapping him, so he smilingly says he had a dream where they were all watching the promotional video, but there was no music, so he asks them to promise to acknowledge each other's good points and genuinely finish the video. They both agree, so Takumi realizes someone's come for him and braces himself, but Odom smilingly opens their tent. They all get on the helicopter and are flying away when Kikuchi says he only has a day to finish the video. Nozomi suggests that they can use Chase's music with Fumino's lyrics, and Kikuchi cheerily agrees. They spend the next day editing the video, and Kikuchi announces that he's uploaded it to their site. They happily see that it's already gotten 100,000 views and prepare to watch it, but everyone is shocked to see that most of the video is just focusing on the girls' bodies. Bro really just wanted to see all his fantasies on screen. Kikuchi smilingly says looking at 3D girls from a monitor makes them 2D as well, hearing which Cheese and Fumino punch him out of the window. To preserve life, the beautiful Earth is one of them, and at this moment, 3 energy-based beings are about to arrive on Earth: Sayaka, Chizuru, and Shinobu. A girl asks Hazuki why she's doing this, so she declares that it's to take her revenge on the Empire of Machines. She suddenly gets attacked by something and shockingly questions if it's the Duke of Machine, as a giant robot holding Sayaka, Chizuru, and Shinobu appears in front of them. The Duke, who is Hazuki's father, reveals that he has long known of her plan to betray the Empire and sees that all the wicked rebels seem to have gathered here. The other enemies wonder what he's up to and decide to not let their guard down, but he says he's heard the survivors of Planet Brave are able to exponentially increase their powers once they combine with a human being. He says he's also solved a puzzle of his own mystery and starts absorbing the land around them. The enemies realize he's merging with the Earth. The professor notices something weird and realizes the Duke is absorbing energy from the Earth. The Duke declares that very soon he will obtain a strength which surpasses that of the Emperor of Machines, and he'll become the king of a brand new empire, the universe. The professor sees that the responses from Sayaka and the other girls are getting weaker, so they rush to rescue them before anything happens. As the enemies charge towards the Duke, the professor decides to keep him occupied for a while, and the girls are able to get inside the Duke. The Duke declares that it's meaningless at this stage, and Hazuki suddenly gets shot out of the Duke, after which her battler powers off. That sounds really weird. The Duke shoots down the professor's ship as well and declares that resistance is futile. Hazuki depressingly realizes how useless she is. Inside the Duke, the three battlers finally reach the girls. The Duke tells Hazuki this is the end for her and gets ready to finish her off, but the three battlers suddenly rush out of him and absorb Sayaka, Chizuru, and Shinobu. They power on and declare that it's their turn to give some payback. The Duke says there's nothing they can do anymore, but Fumino says they will fight and declares that there is no way they would ever forgive him or the Empire of Machines. The girls decide to show the Duke their strength, so the professor says they should all combine. The girls' battlers form heroic Superman and use Grand Blade. A gigantic sword descends from the sky, so the girls use Grand Attack on the Duke, but he shockingly absorbs it and questions if that's all they've got before punching the sword away. He blasts the Braver away, and the professor's apprentice informs her that they can't use any of their weapons because of the earlier attacks. Some weird creatures suddenly start attacking the Braver as Hazuki remarks that she's always been protected by others and inwardly questions why she's so powerless. She determinedly wishes for the power to save them all, and a giant blast suddenly wipes out all the creatures as Hazuki's battler gets back up. Hazuki tells the girls that this is the light of resonance, the light of their new combination, and they're stunned to see that their Bravers can combine. Hazuki and the girls' battlers get up and rush towards the Duke. Both battlers combine, but the Duke asks what they think they can achieve together and declares that they're a bunch of fails. However, they effortlessly block his attack and tell him to not think they'll let him off easy. He says the result will stay the same no matter how hard they try, but they suddenly fire an energy beam at him that he isn't able to absorb. The girls blast a hole in his armor, revealing the core. They swiftly use Grand Charge and slash through him, declaring that the likes of him should die twice. As energy is restored to the Earth, Sayaka thanks Hazuki for the help.
I just want to thank y'all so much!
But she blushingly says she did this for her sake and flies away. The professor believes she would have been a great help if she stayed, but her apprentice knows she was just going to investigate her battler. Meanwhile, in outer space, someone sees that the Duke of Machines failed and says it was the overconfidence of his own actions. He mutters that Hazuki and Big Battler betrayed them, but there's nothing to be afraid now because a planet with such a low level of technology along with those people won't take more than a few days to conquer. The two men ask the Emperor of Machines to smile in expectation of that moment, so he smiles. Satu and Suzuki see that this is the robot film Cheese made and praise it, but they wonder why they weren't in it. It is announced that the final round of the first Super Block Championship will begin now. The host is Fumino's friend, Naruko Kane, along with the commentator, Tenake, Chase's butler. Kane decides to tell them the rules once more and explains that an 18-story high tower of blocks is built and players have to pull out one block at a time and stack each block on top of the tower in an alternating manner. However, they're only allowed to use one hand to do this, and if the tower falls within 10 seconds, the respective player loses. Fumino pulls a block and is stunned to see that it's ordering her to cosplay as a baby and babble. Kane adds that if you fail to obey the command written on the block, you automatically lose. Fumino annoyingly says she's just going to go home, but Kane she can only leave by winning or losing and falling through the hole. She says she can lead or she wants to, since that'll just leave her with one less rival to deal with. Hearing this, Fumino begrudgingly agrees to do it and acts like a baby, seeing which the others start laughing, and she loses all her self-esteem. They continue the game and are surprised by how lewd some of the commands are, even though they're nowhere near as bad as Fumino's. Cheese gets the command to choose a person and sit on their lap, so she instantly goes for Takumi, remarking that this is an arena set up by her family, so there's no way she'd pass up a chance to set traps that would help her win. Chai's inwardly details how her plan works and how she bribed Kikuchi to help her by agreeing to set up a meeting with his favorite voice actress. Kuya loses and falls down a while later. Cheese wonders why no one else is losing when she specifically set up the game to only leave her and Takumi. Otone loses next and they continue the game, but Nozomi is suddenly able to tell what Kikuchi's directions to Chai's mean, but he remarks that it doesn't seem like it matters since she isn't planning on talking about it, so they just need to make her lose before she says anything. A while later, Kikuchi is suddenly informed that if he picks up one of the two remaining safe blocks, Chise or Takumi will surely lose in the next round, and he realizes Nozomi has been purposefully setting up the game like this all along. He sees that the deal will be off if he loses and decides to just enjoy this semi-lewd game for a bit longer. If that's really the case, infuriating Chise, Kaho suddenly announces that she's going to lose, so Kikuchi hurriedly tries to make things up with Chise and asks if the deal is still intact. However, she makes him lose, leaving her, Fumino, Nozomi, and Takumi. When the game begins, Chise uses an emergency earpiece to communicate with her maids. However, her command is to perform glutes exercises in her pea suit, and she shockingly realizes Kaho has taken over the headquarters. Kaho informs her that all of her blocks will be safe, but she might get a lewd one or two as well. As the game continues, Chise does all the lewd commands she's given, and Fumino remembers how their machine at the store was broken, and Takumi would need to spend a large amount of money to get a new one. She's told them that they would receive anything they wanted as a present if they won, so she agreed to play the game. Presently, she remarks that she will win this game no matter what, and shockingly sees that all the blocks that seem safe have lewd commands on them. It's revealed that Nozomi also wants to win to get the machine for the store, so Takumi senses a dangerous aura as they're about to come to a conclusion. Fumino sees a command and realizes the real goal of this game was for Chise to kiss Takumi. Since Takumi can't see the command, he decides to pull the block since it seems safe, but Fumino wonders who he would kiss. Fumino decides to reach for it instead, seeing which Nozomi and Chise hurriedly spring out of their seat to take it from her. However, they all end up knocking over the tower and lose, making Takumi the winner. Later in the store, Takumi reveals that he bought them uniforms for the store, so they happily take them. Otom says they should play that game again when it actually goes on sale, but Fumino declares that there's no way they're gonna do that. The others see that Nozomi is watching a show about the beach, and she mutters that it looks like fun. They wonder if she wants to go to the beach, but Kikuchi says none of the resorts around here are good, so Otom declares that they can all go on a stray cat's recreation vacation. Everyone is excited on the train as they're heading to their holiday, but Fumino mutters that she'd like them to be quiet since it's not like they're kids anymore. Chise tells Nozomi she should have just said that she wanted to go to the beach since she would have invited her anywhere she wanted. When they arrive, Takumi mutters that it's really hot, but Kuya says this is perfect weather for the beach. Kikuchi gets ready to go swim, but Chise declares that those who skip stretching have no right to enjoy the sea. She says they'll have to stretch for 3 hours, so Taiyu instantly begins. Chise asks Takumi how her swimsuit looks, so he smilingly acknowledges that it looks good, but Kikuchi says it looks like a child pretending to be an adult, so she annoyingly chases after him even though he was speaking nothing but the truth. The other girls arrive in their swimsuits as well, so Chise says they should reorganize themselves and that they should do what Nozomi wants since they came here on her request. Nozomi looks around a bit and doesn't say anything, so Kuya says it looks like she can't express it well in words. In that case, Chise declares that she will give them a taste of everything that screams at the beach during summer. Nozomi smilingly agrees, so they all run into the water to play. They play a lot more, and Fumino wearily says she's already exhausted. Chise asks Nozomi if she's satisfied and if she wants to do anything else. Nozomi doesn't say anything else, so they start wondering what they should do, but Nozomi smilingly says she was happy since she came to the ocean and played together with everyone, which was fun. They all agree that it was fun, but Chise declares that they're not done just yet since she's decided they're going to have a night section in their recreation vacation. Botom goes to relax in the hot springs while Takumi walks with Fumino on the beach. Takumi says the fact that Nozomi's wish was to just play with everyone fits her character. He notes that Fumino seems angry about the fact that they're staying here overnight and remarks that that means she's actually happy about it inside. They sit down to watch the sunset before suddenly noticing the stand for rental boats behind them. After the others play ping pong, Chise asks where Takumi is, so Kuya says he was looking for Fumino on the beach. Botom believes they just went for a walk, so it'll be fine if they return by dinner time, and Nozomi suddenly notices that it's raining. As Takumi is steering the boat in the rain, Fumino urgently says they're too far from the shore, so he decides to land it on an island near them since they're too far from the shore. They hurriedly take shelter in a cabin on the island, and Takumi says the only thing they can do now is wait for the rain to stop since if they go out in this weather they're going to drown. They suddenly realize the boat has floated away from the island, so Fumino asks what they should do now. Takumi says they can wait for the rain to clear so that they can at least tell where they are. She asks if that means they're going to have to spend the night here and believes he has lewd intentions. She questions if he can promise that he won't think of anything weird while they spend the night together, so Takumi says there's no way in hell he would do that to her. Hearing this, she slowly gets up and slaps him, declaring that he's the worst. Meanwhile, as the others are waiting for Takumi and Fumino, Chise believes something must have happened since they still haven't returned. A woman informs Chise that they've received word that the boat that was rented to Takumi and Chise still hasn't been returned. Hearing this, Chise instantly orders the coastal guard to send the search boats out. On the island, Takumi and Chise are lying on the grass, looking up at the sky when Takumi recalls that they stared up the sky like this before. She remembers them watching it from the attic in the church. Takumi asks Fumino what she wished for that time and if it came true, but she says it didn't. He asks if she's alright, but she tearfully declares that it didn't come true and declares that it's all his fault. She angrily asks why he doesn't ever get it, but she accidentally falls on him. As she gets up, a light suddenly shines on them from a rescue boat. The others start teasing Fumino, so she suddenly collapses and Takumi hurriedly tries waking her up. Otome is intensely staring at a girl sitting in a park when she suddenly rushes at her with a net. Some customers go to the store and ask Fumino if Otome isn't here, so she says she had some urgent business to attend to. The guys give Fumino some gifts for Otome and ask her to give Otome their regards. Nozomi suddenly hears something and a helicopter with Chase's face on it lands on the store's rooftop. She heads in and asks where Takumi is, but Fumino mutters that there are more gifts for Otome here than confectionaries because all the customers just come here and meet Otome. They suddenly notice a girl sitting by the window and Fumino remembers that her name is Hanoka. She asks if it isn't uncomfortable in the store and suggests that she can go rest in the back, but she says she's fine since she's a little bad with cats anyway. They ask if she's intruding here, but they assure her it's fine. Fumino recalls how Otome happily introduced Hanoka to them and declares that it was love at first sight. Fumino slowly asks if she found her somewhere, but Otome tells her to not be jealous because they're all just as cute. She drops Hanoka at the store and says she's leaving, but she adds that Takumi has gone to Kikuchi's house for some top-secret stuff he can't talk about. She asks Hanoka to be friends with all the other girls, so she agrees, but before she can leave, Fumino asks if Hanoka is someone she knows, but Otome just smiles and gives a cryptic answer. Otome says she'll be back in 2 to 3 hours and cycles off, leaving Fumino alone with Hanoka. Presently, she says this just means a new stray has appeared at Stray Cats. Fumino thinks that if Otome has Hanoka work at the store, they would be shut down by the government for using child labor. She worryingly wonders what the hell Takumi is doing when she needs him. She is about to declare that Hanoka is her new slave, but Fumino asks why she's just accepting this situation so easily and tells Hanoka she doesn't mean it. As Fumino and Chise are arguing outside, Nozomi makes a cake for Hanoka with welcome written on it in French. Fumino questions why even Nozomi is accepting this situation. She asks Hanoka if she knows Otome, but Hanoka mutters that she just met her today and she was just resting in the park when Otome suddenly said, "Yo ti sheye." Shocked, Fumino depressingly wonders what Otome was thinking and picks up a call from Kikuchi, who starts nitpicking and correcting her. She wearily says this isn't the time for her to talk to him, so he just informs her that Takumi will be returning later than originally scheduled, so she should tell Otome that. He declares that he can't let Takumi go back until he's devoured every morsel of the menu he's concocted for him and hangs up, so Fumino wearily tells the girls that they should clean up. A customer comes to the store and sees Hanoka scrubbing the tables, so she asks if she's a new employee since she thought Otome scouted another kid, but Fumino quickly says that's not the case. Chise orders Nozomi to remove the doorbell along with the door. Fumino questions what she means, so Chise says this is a good chance for them to just rebuild the entire house, but Fumino annoyingly tells her to mind her business. Fumino stands on a stool to remove the doorbell, but Chise suddenly pokes her, causing her to fall down. She angrily gets up, so Chise says she didn't do it on purpose, but Fumino agrees and kicks her away. They get ready to fight as Nozomi notices that it's about to rain. Fumino decides to call Otome, but her phone is turned off or outside of the normal service area, so Fumino wearily says they should close shop for today. Later, Nozomi and Hanoka take a bath together, and Hanoka slowly mutters that she doesn't know what kind of girl she is or anything about her, but she still didn't ask anything. She asks why, so Nozomi mutters that she doesn't know, hearing which Hanoka starts chuckling. Fumino still can't reach Otome and decides to wait here until she gets back since she wants to ask about Hanoka. She tells Chise she can go home, but Chise questions if she wants to get rid of her to suck up to Otome. Fumino insists that's not the case, but Chise teases her about Takumi. In their room, Hanoka gives Nozomi her notebook and asks her to not laugh, so she opens it to see a sketch of a bluebird. Hanoka says this was the first time she saw it, and before she could tell what was happening, she got separated from her mom. Otome returns home and cheerily announces that she's back, but Fumino angrily asks what she's been doing the entire day. Otome apologizes and reveals that she brought back Hanoka's mum with her. Fumino points out that the closest police box is 30 minutes away, but she mutters that lots of things happen along the way and she did a lot of work. as Hanoka is about to go home. Nozomi tells her to come back again and says they're going to be waiting for her, so Hanoka happily says she'll bring some food for the cats next time. The next day, Takumi weakly walks towards the store. Fumino says he sure took his time, so he exclaims that he finally did it. He declares that he finally got through Kikuchi's catalog of Ecchi anime as his backpack filled with DVDs, tears open, seeing which Fumino angrily kicks him. Bro really missed out on all this just for some 2B girls. Since the fitness festival is coming up, Otome cheerily says she's going to enter the two-person, three-legged race with Takumi this year, surprising Fumino and Chise. Takumi asks Kikuchi what he's doing, so he says he uploaded that thing from before and thought he'd show it to everyone. Chase says that video must be celebrated, and they happily watch Nozomi's dancing video. Takumi mutters that it feels kinda weird to see someone close to him getting comments from all around the world. Meanwhile, a man orders someone to find out where this video was uploaded from right now and smilingly mutters that he's finally found Nozomi. In class, Kane tells anyone who wants to participate in the obstacle course to raise their hand and only selects one person. She asks if no one else wants to participate, but Chise suddenly enters and declares that these guys aren't enthusiastic enough. She announces that she will use the Academy's homepage to show the festival to the entire world and declares that this is presented by the Stray Cats Appreciation Society, but Fumino tells her to not drag them in with her if she just wants to show off. Takumi is stunned to see that Chise really did it in a single day. When Chise asks how it is, he says she's gone too far, but Chise tells him to not worry about the quality since she's prepared the best and declares that from today, she's changing the girls' sports uniform to bloomers. Kikuchi happily declares that he loves bloomers, so Takumi mutters that he doesn't want to be his friend anymore. Fumino and Chise start arguing as Nozomi mutters that this place is always fun, but any more than this and it'll be way too lavish. In the store, Otome reveals that she's already told someone that she's competing in the three-legged race with Takumi, so Fumino says knowing the feelings of the other person is important too. Otome asks if she wants to compete with Takumi, so she blushingly mutters that their height is the same, but hurriedly insists that it's not like she really wants to do it with him. As they're arguing, Takumi notices that Nozomi looks glum and pats her on the head, thanking her for everything she's done so far. She goes to serve food for the cats and tells one cat to not take any since this is for them. She slowly apologizes and mutters that there's a limit to the happiness on the plate. The next day, Takumi and the others reach school to see that Chise has more than half the school under her rule, including Kikuchi. Kane suddenly appears and says the Fumino she knows wouldn't give up until the very end, so Fumino declares that the moment she loses will be the end of her life. Fumino says she will advocate for spats, and Chise is shaken by her decision, so Kane asks Takumi what side he's on. As Fumino and Chise pressure him, he declares that both of them are good, but everyone is disappointed in him for that decision. Hence, the school is split in half and the war began. The bloomer side confronts Takumi, and Kikuchi menacingly tells him to come over to their side already, but his bloomer chain attack is stopped by Kane's spat attack. Kane takes Takumi to a classroom where Fumino tells Kane she should have just let him get taken by the spats. As she leaves, Kane mutters that she seems to be in a bad mood, but Takumi believes his ambiguous mood is annoying her. In the school auditorium, Nozomi tells Kuya that she doesn't have an interest in bloomers or spats before Takumi arrives. He tells Nozomi he's felt recently that she hasn't looked very happy and asks if there's something she's worried about. She says there are 4 cats but only 1 meal and asks what she should do, so Takumi admits that's tough. She tells him to just forget it, so he asks her to let them know if something happens. As Takumi is walking through the hallways, wondering why Nomi is so sad, the girl asks him for help, but he recognizes her as one of Chise's maids before they suddenly capture him. Later, Chise tells Takumi she's been expecting him, so he annoyingly tells her to have him untied. He asks Chise why she's so stubborn about bloomers. The maids start depressingly talking about Fumino fighting back, so Chise annoyingly shuts them up and declares that Takumi is her ally, so they're going to compete in the festival together. The alarm suddenly starts ringing due to an enemy assault before barrages of spats suddenly start firing at them. Fumino declares that they're heir to take Takumi back and starts arguing with Chise, who finally questions what she wants to do with Takumi and what kind of relationship she wants to be in. Kinda straightforward if I'm being honest. Fumino blushingly says she wants to go with Takumi to the three-legged race and needs him for the festival. However, Fujino Tamao, their senior and the president of the Light Music Flower Club, says she has a suggestion. Tamao says fighting each other won't do them any good since people from the city will be here on the day of the festival. She suggests that it'd be nice to hold a final showdown a week before the festival and says they won't interfere with preparations for the festival until then, so both Chise and Fumino agree. In the shop, Otome happily greets a customer, but the woman hands her a card and introduces herself as being from the 4th Murasame Academy Institution, Murasame Shimako. Meanwhile, As Nozomi is sitting on the stage, she mutters that the amount of happiness only goes so far. In a flashback, Shimeko congratulates Nozomi since she's been chosen as the 13th Murasame. The Bloomers and Spats are facing off against each other when Takumi notices that Fumino and Nozomi aren't here. Fumino sees Nozomi sitting in a classroom and says she's overthinking it when she notices that she isn't wearing Bloomers or Spats. She agrees that fighting over this stuff is dumb, but asks if it wouldn't be more fun to show her true feelings in a straightforward way. She cheerily says she'll be waiting for her since the second event is the girls' 50-meter dash. Nozomi mutters that she should be more honest with her feelings and determinedly nods. As the festival begins, Kane and Tamao cheerily introduce themselves as the commentators. Kane says the Bloomers side is slightly ahead of the rest at the moment since most of the athletes are concentrated on the Bloomers side. Fumino worryingly sees that the Bloomers lost again before they all turn to see that Nozomi is wearing both Bloomers and Spats. Kuya and Takumi agree that Blutz exists, so Nozomi forms her own side and tells Chise and Fumino that she won't lose. Chise annoyingly asks why she's complicating things, so she says she thinks it's alright since it's Nozomi. However, Kuya says they'll need to change the rules considering the total amount of points and that Nozomi is the only person on her side. However, she declares that she will win everything on her own. She easily wins the first race, seeing which Kuya questions if she was actually serious when she said that. Nozomi then goes on to win every race after that, getting a huge lead and winning. Seeing her gasping for air, Takumi asks if she's alright since she's been pushing herself, so she says she's fine. Tamao congratulates her on the victory and says everyone will wear Blutz from tomorrow, but she unexpectedly hugs Chase and Fumino and says she wants them both to get along with each other. That's her only wish. After that, the Bloomer and Spat both stop being hostile to each other, so Takumi thanks Nozomi for getting everything back on track. Later in the store, Chise annoyingly asks who's going to enter the three-legged race with Takumi, so Nozomi raises her hand and says she also wants to participate with Takumi. Fumino asks if she wanted to say that all along, so she nods and says she's being honest with her feelings. In that case, Fumino says she's fine with that choice and turns to Chise, who agrees as well and tells her to do whatever she wants. Otome enters the store and happily hugs Nozomi since it took all her courage to say that out loud. She says she's going to root for her and tells Nozomi she really did do her best, so Nozomi happily smiles. Nozomi tells them all she loves them too, so they say they love her as well. Before she goes to sleep, Nozomi mutters that her body hurts a little, but she believes it'll be fine with some sleep and smilingly says she's really excited. While the festival continues, Otome is sitting in a car with Shimeko, who says they ensure that their children show no difficulties when they join society later on, and all the students are given the last name Murasame, so they all become a family. However, Otome says Nozomi ran away from there, so she doesn't see the point in bringing her back using force. Shimeko reveals that Nozomi is the greatest prodigy since the start of this institution, and she was promised to become the 13th Murasame. She adds that if Otome refuses to agree with them, the next they meet will be in a court of law, but Otome cheerily says that's okay because she will never let Nozomi go as long as she doesn't say she wants to. In that case, Shimeko admits they have nothing else to discuss, but Otome brings out a huge lunch and says they should go cheer on Nozomi since today is the fitness festival. During lunchtime, Fumino tells Takumi that he can have some of the food she's made, but Kuya and Kikuchi instantly start eating and Kane joins in too, seeing which Chise declares that she's called a chef from a 3-star restaurant to prepare a full meal for them. However, they say they can't fit in a full meal right now. Otome arrives with her giant lunchbox as well, so they instantly start gorging themselves, and Otome confirms that she's done with her errands. Watching them from afar with a binocular, Shimeko mutters that this emotional move won't work on her, but when she sees Nozomi playing, she's stunned to see that she can smile like that. Whoa! As the three-legged race begins, Takumi tells Nozomi they're going to do their best, but he suddenly stops and sees that she has a high fever. He says they should withdraw, but she insists that she wants to run till the end because today is special. Shimeko suddenly appears in front of her and asks her to not run away. She confirms that she does indeed have a fever and hands her 2 pills that will make her feel better. She asks why Nozomi ran away from the institution, so she mutters that she doesn't want to make anyone cry anymore. She recalls the other children crying when she was chosen as the Murasame and says she took their happiness from them. However, Shimeko says that was a misunderstanding because they were all worried because she was going away and wanted her to come back. She says she didn't come to get her because she's a Murasame and grabs her hand. However, Nozomi tearfully says she loves everyone she met here and they said it's fine for her to stay here. Takumi asks her to not take away since they need to reach the end of the race and the store would lose all its customers without her. He declares that she's a part of their family and they all love her, so Shimeko tells Nozomi to tell Otome that she'll be leaving her in her care for a while. She adds that she'll give her a cell phone later, so she should text her every once in a while, and Nozomi agrees, so Takumi thanks her. After that, Takumi and Nozomi finish the race together, but she instantly falls unconscious. In the nurse's office, she tells Nozomi she doesn't have to push herself too far before Nozomi suddenly reveals that she loves Takumi, but she also loves him, and so does Fumino, so she questions what they should do. However, Fumino hurriedly says it's not like she loves him, and as she's about to leave, she almost runs into and kisses Takumi. Later, Nozomi receives a photo of all the other kids in the institution from Shimako, who says this is from her other family, while Takumi walks in on Fumino changing and gets beaten up by her.